Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. This is me saying hello. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, November 26th, 2011. This is episode 825. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Ford, featuring available Sync with My Ford Touch. Sync with My Ford Touch gets you to your destination with integrated turn-by-turn directions and directional arrows displayed right behind the wheel. Check it out on the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by the Epson Workforce Pro, the world's fastest two-sided printer, delivering high-speed, two-sided color copying, printing, scanning, and faxing to keep your business running at full speed. Plus, you'll save on ink, too. Check out the Epson Workforce Pro this holiday season at Epson.com. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Leo Laporte here. I'm the Tech Guy. Yeah, this is the... Oh, I'm sorry. You were hoping for the gardening show. No, this is the show where we talk about all the stuff people bought yesterday and how to use it. Computers, the internet, sure, but you know, it's also about smartphones. It's about tablets. It's about GPS. Well, maybe people don't buy GPSs anymore, do they? No. It's about no, not PDAs either. No, we can cross that off the list. The list is actually getting shorter thanks to smartphones. It all does the same thing, right? But we do talk about home theater. That's a big part of the show, of course, because your TV nowadays, your TV is a computer. Your big screen TV, that's running Linux in most cases. Yes, that's running an operating system with apps and all that stuff. So that's what we talk about, and I hope you will call and ask a question or make a comment or make a suggestion. This is a two-way talk show, and I love hearing from you. Phone number is 8888-ASK-LEO. That's 888-827-5536. You'll find that number and show notes and information about the show at our website, which is techguylabs.com. Don't mock my website. I know you're going to get there and say, wow, I'm taking a trip back into the 90s. Yes, I understand. It's very simple, Spartan. It gets the job done. And thanks to James DeRuvo, who's writing everything I say down, it's a usable, searchable archive of 825 shows. That's how many I've done. In fact, in many cases, almost all cases, the audio is also there. So you can go back and listen to the show. The news site will have audio and video, plus transcriptions of every question and answer to make it really easy to find the information. Because that's really what I think of the website as being, as a place to find information about what we talked about on the show. And I'm going to add comments so you can have comments on there. But, you know, that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is comments. Because something's happening on the internet. I often talk about the positive of technology. I mean, I'm very fixated on how this is democratizing, how having a computer, inexpensive technology that you can edit music with, you can write with, you can create video with, you can create paints pictures with, all the things you can do with a computer, and then having the internet connected to it so you can distribute it to a global audience. That's wonderful. It gives people a voice, gives people power. It's great in politics, it's great in art, it's great in science. And we're seeing all those benefits and huge amounts of innovation around these platforms. All of that's very positive, and I usually focus on that. But it struck me this week that there are negatives. We know that, right? One of the negatives that I've noticed, and I'm curious about, is the nature of opinion. We all have opinions, right? That's of course, that's your point of view. Everybody has an opinion. Journalists in the past, reporters from prestigious newspapers have pretended not to have an opinion. They gather the facts and present the facts and let you have the opinion. And that's one way of doing news, certainly. a way that is dying out, I might add. More and more, the internet fosters this notion that each of us has an opinion, and this is the thing that scares me a little bit, and all opinions are created equal. On the internet, everybody has an opinion, don't they? And we all feel very free to express our opinion. I like that. I hate that. You're a jerk. I love you. There's a lot of that. In fact, that's most of what the content on the internet is. There's a thin layer of factual information that mostly is being gathered by old school reporters and news organizations. And then on top of that, there's a very fat layer of, well, here's what I think about that. And believe me, I'm guilty of that. That's what I do. I'm a pundit. But it used to be, before the internet and computers, that punditry was a somewhat regulated system. If you were a pundit, you know, it was because somebody, if in the case of Andy Rooney, somebody at CBS said, "You're smart. I like you. I'm going to let you have a pulpit. I'm going to let you speak." But the internet now gives everybody a bully pulpit. Everybody gets to have an opinion. And there's no gatekeepers. Now, I've talked about how that's a good thing, and it is a good thing there are no gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are what kept, you know, a handful of people in power, essentially, because they were the ones who had the television transmitters, the radio stations, the book publishing businesses, the presses. So they got all the say, just that handful of people. Now it's everybody. Everybody gets to have an opinion and express it on the internet. And this is the problem I have, is that they're all treated equally. And you know what? They're not all equal. Many people, it's striking me when you go on an internet forum or a comment section on a blog or Reddit or Dig or YouTube. Just look at the comments on YouTube. Every one of those is an opinion. Almost every one of them is an opinion. And on some places, the vast majority of opinions are worthless. Like, I don't want to know. I might want to know what Roger Ebert thinks about a movie, but couldn't care less what some 14-year-old in Pittsburgh thinks. And this is the problem on the internet. We're all, you know, basically equal, aren't we? And so what we're seeing is a vast amount, and I think this is what, when people complain about the internet, I think this is the chief thing. I mean, there's other things. There's pornography and violence and, you know, who knows. But you can kind of constrain what you see by where you go. But you cannot avoid opinion, no matter where you go, unless comments are turned off, unless it's old school newspaper where the editor says who gets to speak and nobody else does. You're going to see a lot of unwashed opinions. And I think one of the skills that we need to learn, and our kids especially are going to need to learn, and I know I've learned this being constantly bombarded by people's opinions. And I'll tell you, when you're in public, this really becomes, as I am doing this radio show, it really becomes obvious, because everybody has an opinion on your work, on what you do, because you work in public. Imagine whatever you do, if thousands of random strangers could come up while you're doing it and say, well, that's not very good. Or, oh, I love that. No wonder celebrities get crazy, because your work is so public and everybody has an opinion, and more people are getting direct access to you with that opinion. I remember teaching Regis Philbin how to tweet. Wow, that was an interesting experience. Here's a guy from old school media who really was in a kind of a bubble, right? When you work in television, you have a studio audience, but they're hand-selected. You have people to keep people away, at bay. Regis Philbin didn't meet the unwashed masses as he walked down the street. There were people to keep the others at bay. Well, I got him tweeting, and I said, now you can see people responding to your tweets in real time. And he was blown away. He immediately got on the phone with Joy, his wife, and said, Joy, go to Twitter. Look what people are saying. Because he had announced his retirement that day. It was about 6 months ago. So it was a big story. And there were lots of responses to him on Twitter saying, I'm retiring. Actually, he said, I'm not retiring. I'm leaving this show. I'm not retiring, please. And he was blown away by the responses and the number of them. And at first, I think he was very excited by it. And I noticed that he stopped tweeting about a month later. And I know exactly why. All those opinions, they're assaulting me, constantly bombarding me. And so one of the skills I think personally I've had to learn is how to Filter. But all of us are going to have to, because whenever we search now for information on the internet, whenever we want to know, is this a good hotel, what are we going to see? Whenever we go on to Amazon, is this a good, which tablet should I buy, Kindle or Nook? You're going to be assaulted by thousands of opinions, not professional reviewers, not trained reviewers, not professional journalists. I don't think that's a bad thing. That's democracy in action. But we need to learn the skills, and this is my only point. It's important, it's incumbent upon us to learn the skills to filter the good from the bad, to understand, because it's built into our brain that anybody has, that when we read opinions, to believe them. I see this happen all the time. They didn't like me. No, that's just somebody's opinion. Everybody has one. They're not all valid. You can pick the ones you like. What do you think? What's your opinion? 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Is this more Skyrim music?
That it is.
You know, it's one thing I did learn. I watched them record the score for Uncharted 2, the previous version of Uncharted. The new one's out, supposedly amazing. Which, by the way, that's relevant to my opinion that Skyrim is the best game of the decade. I haven't played Uncharted 3. Maybe that's the best game of the decade. I haven't played every game in the last 10 years. So when you consider a person's opinion, you have to consider things like that. Who is it? What's their standing? Why do they say what they say? I'll back up. I went to watch them record that with a full, I think it was a 110-piece orchestra, like 8 people in the percussion section. I mean, they had 8 tubas. But Skyrim, even more interesting, not only a full orchestral rendition of the music, but they also had a 30-voice men's chorus for the title theme. It's just dramatic as heck. And what blows me away playing this game, it's called Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, for the full name. It's from Bethesda Toolworks, I think is the name of the company. It's the 5th in a series, very popular, very successful series of games. But the thing that blew me away about it is the depth of the game. It's one of those games where you can go anywhere. There's no constraints. It's an open playing environment. There are quests, there are things to do, but it's very fluid. And your character development, just as in real life, who you are in the game is very much influenced by what you do, and you can change. My son, for instance, cannot resist. You can wander into a town and you can go into somebody's house. You can break into their house with a lockpick and steal stuff from them, and he can't resist doing that. But when he does it, he gets in trouble and often gets arrested. And I think it's very interesting. You can play that way. You can be a rogue. And you can develop pickpocketing skills and stealth skills. You'd have to develop fighting skills to make sure you don't get arrested. You can play it that way. Or you can play it completely polar opposite and be this very good player, very kind, generous. And the game is different depending on how you play. I think that it's an amazing thing. Fascinating game. But that's just my opinion. Scott, Jasper, Georgia, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You're our first call of the day. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Very well.
Wow, second week in a row I'm the first caller. I guess I'm lucky. Got a problem. My wife is having a problem with her email, of all things. Seems as though that we would have got past this with the internet, but anyhow, she has her email through her ISP, and recently she keeps getting, when I send her email from my Gmail account, it bounces back saying it's got spam in the message content, and it's rejected by her domain. Now, the ISP hasn't been much help with this, and I was wondering if the chat room or you may have some ideas of what I could try.
Yeah, you don't have any choice because the ISP is almost undoubtedly subscribing to an email service. The content of your message is not spammy, right? You're not saying, "Hey, honey, I think I'm going to take Viagra tonight."
I've sent test messages that are blank.
Blank. Okay. So what it's doing, and I've had this happen too. Internet service providers, look, they understand they've got a battle on their hands, and they're trying to cut down on spam. So they try different solutions, and there are a variety of solutions they can use, some better than others. One of the solutions that really is flawed, but I have seen ISPs do it, is using a black hole service like Maps or Orbs. These services will kind of unilaterally determine that a particular IP address is sending spam. And they'll add that address, that mail server, to a list which the ISP subscribes to. And then the internet service provider blocks mail from that address. Boom, done. The problem with this, first of all, is, as you've discovered, getting the ISP to do anything about it. What you're asking the internet service provider to do is actually unsubscribe, to stop using that technique. And that's a difficult thing to do. Even harder to go to Maps or Orbs or one of these black hole lists and protest. And this is my problem with them. It's a good idea if you could say everything they're blocking is definitely a source of spam and nothing but spam, then it would be a good idea. The problem is stuff can falsely get flagged. A server may have sent spam at one time, but it be because of a virus or whatever. Perhaps you had a virus on your machine that was using your internet address to send spam. And as a result, it's being blocked. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons you can get in these black hole lists, and there really is no appeal. Even if it's completely fallacious, if it's completely false, the black hole lists make it very difficult to appeal. So, in general, I suggest that ISPs not use black hole services, but instead use more sophisticated spam-fighting services, of which there are many. And really, Scott, probably what I would suggest, and you can help your wife do this, is that she start using Gmail.
Yes, that's what I've done with her, is I've got her set up on Gmail. The real issue she's having with her ISP is a lot of her contacts use the same ISP, so anything coming from her new Gmail account does bounce back.
How can an ISP, this is ridiculous, how can an ISP block, they're blocking all Gmail?
And I've had this discussion with them several times, this has been going on for 2 weeks.
What's the name of the ISP? I take it it's a small company.
It's a small ISP in our small little area. It's one of the regionals. It's a company called ETC Communications.
Well, what's going to happen is they're going to change the policy because Gmail is, while not the #1 web-based email service, Hotmail's bigger, Yahoo's bigger, but it's big. And blocking Gmail is essentially blocking a significant portion of incoming email.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, my wife is going crazy.
Yeah.
She a lot of her contacts, she can't get email to them, and she's on a lot of lists and stuff, so she's going, and I'm the tech head in the house, so it's like,
it's your fault,
honey, what can you do?
It's your fault. Well, the best thing to do, and the truth is, this is why Gmail is so popular and is going to continue to get more popular. They do a better job. They do a much better job of spam fighting. Part of the reason they do is because they have so many users, they can do a collaborative spam filter that's quite effective. But by that I mean, when users, there's a button, if you'll notice, I'm sure you've seen this on yours, Gmail, yeah, Scott, that says, that's spam, that's spam. When enough people say that's spam, Gmail starts blocking it. That's kind of a black hole system, but it's done by humans, and it's more effective, and Gmail has better ways of moving things in and out, and it's just a better system.
Well, I've been with Gmail, for a number of years now, and I've finally got my wife over there. I said, one reason why I love it is because if I need to get an old email, I just go and search it on Gmail.
I'm sure her internet service provider has limits on the amount of mail she can keep on her server.
Yeah, yeah.
Most do. In fact, sometimes it's 10 megabytes, which is hardly anything. Gmail is not completely unlimited, but it's effectively unlimited because it's over 7 gigs at this point.
But it's just a battle that we're fighting with our local ISP.
Well, they're dumb, and everybody, you should complain by all means. And you should say, I'm going to leave you because blocking Gmail is a dumb policy. She can continue to get her mail from the ISP. You can use Gmail to capture it. It's a nice feature of Gmail. And she doesn't even have to use Gmail. She can use her local client. But I would move her. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. John in Anaheim, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, John.
Hi. My question has to do with cyber attack. We are a small roofing contractor, and we advertise with the Google AdWords, and we have set our budget for about $200 per day. Now, until about 2-3 weeks ago, it used to take approximately all day to exhaust that $200 budget. What we have seen in the past 2 to 3 weeks is that approximately 1 hour in the morning, we get like 200 clicks and the budget is gone. So I consulted with a cybersecurity person, and the person said that your competitor has designed or has hired somebody to develop a program.
No, it doesn't even need a program. It could just be some guy. Could be your competitor himself. Wakes up in the morning, has a cup of coffee, some Spam and eggs, and starts clicking. All it would take is a few hundred clicks, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that when I talked to Google, Google AdWords said that when they have repetitive clicks from an IP address, they block it.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Okay, so the consultant said that what they are doing is that they have devised a program.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
The program is constantly changing the IP address of the computer, and they are clicking, and it's pretty much automated.
That's right. They don't even have to design a program. You can find them on the internet.
How to change the IP address of your computer?
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Oh, okay.
So you're not actually changing the IP address of your computer. You're changing the IP address that the packet sends. It actually was a big controversy when Windows XP came out. It had this feature built into it, and it's called raw sockets. And my friend Steve Gibson, security expert, launched a campaign to kill raw sockets. He said this is very, very dangerous for this very reason. And Microsoft did, in fact, turn off raw sockets later. However, raw sockets are possible in other operating systems, including Linux. So it is probable that your competitor, and I'm sure that's who it is, isn't doing it himself. You're right because of this, because Google is smart enough to say, hey, they all came from the same address. He hired somebody to do it, and I think you need to complain to Google. There's nothing you can do about it. The guy wins.
Okay. So there's nothing I can build into my website that can...
How would you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's up to Google to do things like limit the number of clicks to 1 per several minutes, to put some reasonable limits on this. And I believe that they do have that capability. So I would just go back to Google and say, I'm going to pull my budget because this is clearly, let me look at the graph. Do you have you're probably too small to have a ad rep at Google.
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
They tell me that between the hours of 8 and 9 in the morning, I get 200 clicks, and that exhausts my budget.
Right, and say that's not right because it never happened. Look at the graph. That happened all of a sudden. It's clearly a competitor. And I don't know. They're the ones who would have to implement the tools. There's nothing you can do on your website to prevent that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's terrible. And it does happen. Fraudulent clicking is a big problem in the Google system, to be honest. And that's why it's up to Google, and I believe Google is should be very aggressive about it to fix it because, well, frankly, it's a problem, isn't it? And in fact, people like John are going to stop using Google AdWords if Google doesn't fix that. And that's what your threat is, John, is, well, my ad budget's wasted on fraudulent clicks, so I'm not going to spend any money on you. The way it works, they're not using proxies. It's not even that simple. I mean, complicated. It's very simple. It's raw sockets. It's ability in an operating system to just randomly say this is coming from this address, to change the packet IP addresses. And it's simple. It's trivial. It can all happen from the same address. They could have a botnet army, but they don't need to. It's not that complicated. So it's Wikipedia raw sockets. You can find out the the long story behind raw sockets. It was always a feature in professional operating systems because there are many legitimate reasons you might want that for testing and so forth. So that was always a feature in Unix operating systems. As a result, it was in Linux operating systems. The fear Steve Gibson had is you put this in Windows, every script kiddie in the world is going to be able to write programs to create attacks. One of the most common attacks, a denial of service attack. distributed denial of service attack, attacks a machine by making spurious web requests. That's what they call a SYN flood. They SYN. They bombard a website. And you really can't protect yourself from this as a website. They bombard the website with what looks like page requests. The website gets overwhelmed, can't serve the legitimate users. Now, if it were all coming from the same address or addresses, or the same bunch of addresses, the website could just say, well, turn that one off, turn that one off, turn that one off, turn that one off. I'm not going to accept anything from them. Could block them. You wouldn't do it at the website, you do it at the router, but they would block it at the router, and it's an easy thing to fix. But if you have every packet coming from a different address, randomly generated, it's very difficult to fight. And that's why this is going on. This is how it's going on. Now, Web 1174 is saying something interesting. You can spoof your IP, but you can't establish a TCP connection, which is necessary for a click. It might be true. That actually makes sense. That's why it works with a SYN flood, because you don't need to establish a connection. But you're right. If a click requires we establish a TCP connection, a full conversation between the clicker and the website, and I bet it does, that makes sense, then they would have to use a bot army. So whoever's doing this is spending some significant amount of money to do it. That might be the other answer, John. It's not an insignificant amount of money spent to do this. Maybe they'll just, if it doesn't work for a while, give up. They're probably spending more to do this than you are on the ads. Maybe not, but that's a good point. In order to establish the connection, you'd have to use a legitimate address so that the website could respond to you. So you'd have to surf to the website. Website says, hello. And you say, I'd like to click on this ad, please. And the website says, got it. In order to have that conversation, you actually can't be using a spoofed socket. You have to be using a real IP address so that you can have a conversation that knows who to talk back to. I know we're getting into the weeds here, but I think this is this is how the internet works, you know. Kind of interesting. So in order to have that conversation, you'd have to have a real address. So what the bad guys do in that case, this is why we're always saying, please do your updates, run antivirus software, don't get infected, because this is what the bad guys use infected computers to do, to become an army, a zombie army, what we call a botnet, working on their behalf to mess with people like John. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Now that's click fraud. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. By the way, all the songs that our great Kyle Benham, musical director, picks. You know, Kyle, I'm going to get you a baton for Christmas so you can conduct, as the musical director, you can conduct the orchestra. That's how we should upgrade this show. You could play any song, but it would be a live band playing it. I want that Schaefer guy. He must be almost done with Letterman. I want him to conduct the premier orchestra behind me, and you can conduct. And we'll get a drop cam set up, because if you have a baton, I want to see that. Kyle Benham puts a list together of all the songs he plays during the show, posted on his Google Plus account, Kyle Benham, B-E-N-H-A-M. But you can also see it on our show notes, because James DeRuvo will pick it up from that G Plus posting and then put it on our show notes. And I think they usually do it as a Spotify playlist. What happens, Kyle? Do you post the name? No, you just post the Spotify playlist, right?
I do. Yeah.
So you don't post the name. So do I have to have a Spotify account to even see what those names are? Or can I click the link and Spotify will say, this is what the songs are. Too bad you can't play them because you're not a Spotify member.
You're right. Yeah,
that's what they do? Okay.
Spotify.
You do have to have Spotify.
But I do post it on Google Plus, and so does James DeRuvo.
All right. All right. So the names are on the G Plus list. Okay, thank you, Spring Rubber. Because I want people to be able to at least see the songs. The nice thing about Spotify, I got to say, now this is, okay, here's an opinion. I'll give you an opinion. We were talking about opinions and how everybody has one. Doesn't mean they're valid. And we all have to learn how to consider the source and validate opinions. I'll give you an example. Sunday, and this actually was one of the reasons I thought about this. Sunday, I do a roundtable show. Bunch of big-time journalists get together and talk about the news. And in this case, it was Kara Swisher from All Things Digital, Rafe Needleman from CNET, Kevin Rose, the entrepreneur, Mike Elgin from Computer World. I mean, really top-flight journalists. And we were sitting around, and the big story of the week was Google announcing that they were going to do a music store just like Apple and Microsoft sell music. And I was surprised because I thought this is a big story. And the big thinkers on this panel all seemed to agree. They said, you know, it's probably too little too late because of Spotify. Because not just Spotify, but Spotify, Mog, RDO, Rhapsody, Napster, all the music subscription services, and Zune Pass for that matter, or Zune Music Pass, I guess they call it. All of those services, you pay a flat monthly fee, mostly $10, and you have access to their entire catalog, a bigger catalog than Google Music. So it was their opinion that the idea of owning music was dead. That most people would just have a Spotify account. If they wanted to listen to a song, they'd listen to it that way. And that'd be it. And I was a little shocked by it, but after thinking about it, I thought, yeah, I think that's certainly how I'm more and more doing it. I think there will always be, and I'm sure there are plenty of you in the audience who are saying, no, I want to own music. That's what Steve Jobs always said. People want to own music. But I think that that's kind of an old-fashioned notion that's really tied to physical media, like records, CDs, cassettes, and that once everything's digital, do you really own a song if it's just bits anyway? What does that mean to own a song? And it also has to do with how we listen to music. I think younger people don't feel, you know, they'll listen to an album a bunch and then never listen to it again. Album. Did I say album? What do you call it these days? Is there a name for they'll listen to a bunch of songs over and over again and then never again, or maybe once in a while. I suspect that most people going forward will have a subscription to a service like Spotify at $10 a month. That'll be their music, period. Cheaper than buying a CD every month, or roughly the same. But you get 18 million songs. You're kind of done. Who it really hurts, I have to say, is the independent artists, and this is why I liked Google Music. The independent artists who aren't on Spotify or Mog or Rhapsody or RDO, they aren't on those services because they don't have a label. Those people are kind of in trouble, aren't they? They're going to be in a little bit of how do they get to an audience? Furthermore, it does kind of support the big artists, because the big artists, you don't make a lot, or maybe even much, or even a living on airplays on these streaming services. It's just not enough money. You make your money on touring. But if you're not a big, well-known artist, can you make your money touring? Is it okay if you sell music, if you can't sell music or can't make any money off of music? It's an interesting question. Anyway, that was an interesting opinion. It was a kind of a shocker, and a lot of people commented on that show and said, they're crazy. Spotify's not going to replace purchasing music. I have to purchase music. People have an opinion, but I think in general, the future is with these subscription services, not with the download services, seems to me. Virgil says, but you can't play a digital copy on a record player. That's true. What are we going to do? Dan, Ontario, Canada. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, hey, Leo, Whiskey 6, Tango, Whiskey Tango, Victor, Alpha 3, Echo, Tango, Sierra. I'm a ham as well.
I can tell. It's good to talk to you.
You too. What I'm calling about is a friend of mine. She's from down under, so she's actually asleep right now probably. So she has an iPhone, and she's got a 4-year-old nephew. He's a little guy, and he, of course, loves to play with her iPhone, particularly the video recorder on it. And he, of course, naturally would go crazy and maybe start crying if she took those videos off her phone to save space on it. And his immediate family doesn't have a computer.
So she wants to share them. I understand that. That's great. Now, one easy way to share it, if they don't have a computer, this isn't going to help, but one easy way to share it is the iPhone will upload directly to YouTube. And I think for most people, that's the best way. If they have a computer, not sending an attachment, but just upload it to YouTube. You can upload it privately. This is important. Set the privacy so that nobody can see it. but upload it to YouTube, and that's the best way. Now, she wants to move it to DVD. That's fairly easy on Windows. You connect the. I don't know. Is she on Windows? It's easiest on Mac. Is she on Windows or Mac, Dan?
She's on a Mac.
Oh, it's easy then. So she just.
Well. Here's the question. Here's the thing. She is totally blind. She's a voiceover user. So, as am I, and we're looking for something that's accessible to her that will allow her to do that.
Well, the Apple process is very straightforward. I presume she's already doing that. When you connect your iPhone to the Macintosh, 2 programs will launch. iTunes will launch, but so will iPhoto. Now, if it's not launching, she needs to open the camera, what is it called? Image capture. It's called Scanner and Camera Wizard on the Windows side. It's called Image Capture on the Mac. And tell an Image Capture when I connect my iPhone, open iPhoto, import to iPhoto, select the movie, and burn it. That's it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I know, I said that facetiously. $14.99 on Kindle. Expensive, huh? Well, a good day to you. How are you today, Leo Laporte, the tech guy? And we're talking computers and the internet, cell phones and camcorders, MP3 players and home theater, and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is my number. 888-827-5536. I hold in my hands probably 2 of the hottest holiday gifts right now. I bet you they sold a few over the Thanksgiving weekend on Black Friday. In my left hand, if you might imagine, you'll have to close your eyes. No, don't close your eyes. Just if you're driving, please keep your eyes open. If you will imagine, in my left hand, the Kindle Fire, a $200 7-inch tablet that gives you access, of course, not only to all your Kindle books, but to applications like Angry Birds and Plants vs. Zombies, New York Times, and other periodicals. $200. In my right hand, exactly the same size. It's light gray instead of black, but very similar form factor. For $250, Barnes & Noble's tablet. What do you get for $50 more? Well, there's no on-off switch on the bottom. That's kind of annoying for some people on the Kindle Fire. It's too easy to turn it off by accident. Both run highly customized versions of Google's Android operating system. I would say the biggest difference, there's some user interface differences, but the difference anyway that Barnes & Noble is selling is that the Nook has twice as much memory, RAM, and I think twice as much storage as well. So that, that's a difference that certainly geeks might pay attention to. People who buy computers or used to in the old days would certainly care about how much RAM. I think nowadays people don't really ask that question very much, do they? Maybe they do. Certainly not on tablets. Do you know how much RAM is in your iPad? The geeks know it's 512 megabytes, the same as the Kindle Fire, half what's on the Barnes & Noble tablet, but only the geeks know that. Some people have complained about the Kindle, saying it feels slow or sluggish. I don't find that at all. They say, oh, we feel like the Barnes & Noble Nook is a little bit faster, a little bit quicker for page turns and things like that. I don't notice that at all, frankly. Maybe, okay, yeah, it is a little quicker. I take it back. It is a little quicker, but not so much so that you're going to not want to buy the Kindle. I think that for $50 less, most people will end up buying the Kindle, and I don't think there's any reason not to. It's half. Both are much less than the iPad. The Barnes & Noble tablet is half the iPad. The Kindle is 40% of the iPad's price. And you can do email on both. You can do calendaring on both. Contactless. There's no phone. There's no 3G in these either at this point. It's only Wi-Fi. But there are a lot of apps. I'm playing Words with Friends, so I can play Scrabble on it with my friends, and that's always fun. I think for a lot of people, these both will do everything that they want from an iPad for a lot less money. I suspect these are going to be big products over the holiday season. The Nook has a mic, Blue Card tells me in the chat room, so the Kindle does not. Both have audio output, which is good because you could put your Audible books on here. I think for $50 less and access to Amazon, because Amazon really is the brand here, right? It's a much bigger brand than Barnes & Noble. And you got to wonder, since Barnes & Noble's primary business seems to be a bookstore, a physical bookstores, what is the future for Barnes & Noble? You know what the future is for Amazon. It's going to be bright. So my suspicion is, and my recommendation is, go with the Kindle. I don't find it sluggish or unresponsive. I find it very usable. It's a nice little device. It's not light. It's kind of blocky. I got a nice little case for it from Marware. I do recommend that. I find it quite a good little tablet. And I think for a lot of people who the iPad is just more than they want, or they don't want to spend that kind of money, this will be an excellent choice. I'm rather fond of it, actually. I think it's a good little device. What do you think? 8888 Ask Leo. Give me your opinion, your review of the new tablets. Which one are you getting for the holidays, for yourself or for others? Did you already buy one? If you've got a question about them, I can answer that too. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Let's go back to the phones. Our next call from Dan. Oh, we talked to Dan in Ontario. By the way, I just want to finish that thought up. I was saying how easy it is, really, to take an iPhone video and turn it into a movie. It's a couple of clicks. Admittedly, if you're blind, it may not be the easiest, but I think that Apple's put very good screen reader technology into its software. If you can use Apple programs at all, I mean, if you're comfortable enough to actually be using a Macintosh, I think the idea of making sure iPhoto launches when you plug in your phone, having iPhoto import everything from your phone, pictures and videos, and by the way, do that because that's the way you back up the phone, and then select the videos you want and having iPhoto burn them to a DVD. It's only a couple of clicks. I'm not sure how easy or accessible it is. I know Apple's worked hard to make it accessible to blind people. I hope it's easy enough to do. I certainly don't know of any easier way to do it. If you're so inclined, you could probably get a geek friend to write an Apple script that would do it, or an automator. It'd be fairly simple to do an automator script that would do that for you. Just whenever the phone's plugged in, do this, 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 and this. Now, with iCloud, you can even eliminate one of those steps. You no longer have to, iCloud, well, now, wait a minute. Maybe iCloud won't back up videos. It certainly does that with the photos. It'll automatically copy the photos over. I don't know if it'll copy the videos over. They're probably too big. So you may still have to do that. Click, click, click. Bryce, Chesapeake, Virginia, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, iCloud doesn't do videos. Go ahead.
Hi, Leo.
Yeah, Bryce, I hear you. What can I do for you?
Oh. So I do a podcast with a friend of mine. We do an audio podcast, and we record it over Skype, but we'd like to have a way to stream it live when we do our recordings,
right.
So we can have a chat room.
I know that's a nice thing. One of the reasons we moved, I've always done the radio show live, but one of the reasons we moved all the other shows to live recording, I do about 20 podcasts a week, is for that very reason, having interactivity with our audience. I always loved, it was part of the thing I loved the most about doing talk radio, live talk radio. In fact, I had a chat room for this show back in 1991 when I started doing it. We've been using IRC chat ever since. So how would you stream it? You just want to stream the audio?
Yeah. I mean, we think maybe we'll do video in the future, but for right now, what we're looking at is audio.
Are you on a Mac or Windows?
I think we're both on Windows.
There is a great program called Nicecast on the Mac that would do this for you. You need to get to a server, of course, because you don't want to host all the bandwidth unless you only have a few people listening. So we don't have too many. Here's how it works. Essentially, if you want people to watch or listen live, you need to get the audio out of your computer and out of your house to a server, because the problem, of course, is your own bandwidth at home. What's your upstream? And that's going to be the important number, not the downstream. So when you buy internet access, you know, they always say, it's 10 megabits or 5 megabits, but that's the downstream. And that's not what you want to know. What's the upstream? And often it's 5 megabits down, 1 megabit up. Well, do a little math. If everybody listening is at 64 kilobits and you have a total of 1 megabit, you might be able to get 10, no more than 15 people listening at any given time. And that's going to use all your upstream bandwidth. And what about the guy on Skype? Uh-oh. So really, in reality, with a normal internet connection, you probably don't want to do Skype and stream at the same time. You need a lot more speed. And you can't host it. And we'll talk about that when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It is not Amber McRae. It's a woman named Laura Sunday.
What can you buy for
voiceover artist.
$12.95? A couple of frappuccinos.
So the
or
people you love, netcasts you love from people you trust, is 3 people. Jim Cutler is the first part. Netcasts you love. From people you trust is Laura Sunday. And then I'm on it as well. At the end, 3 voices, Jim, Laura, and me, say, this is TWiT.
DSL Extreme. It's one of the best values around. High-speed internet for your home or office is $12.95 a month. If you're using cable or the phone company, you're paying a whole lot more, maybe $39, $49 a month. This is going to save you hundreds of dollars a year. And with DSL Extreme, everything's fast. No dialing in, no waiting on.
Yeah, I know you wanted to get the plug-in, Nesh. I'm sorry. We ran out of time. It is not. It's Jim Cutler. He also does. He's a very good voiceover guy, one of the best-known voiceover guys in the business. He also does the open. He very kindly is doing this pro bono for us for Game On. So if you saw the Game On beta, that was Jim. Now on Game On, he's got a great voice. You hear him all over the place. Hey, real quickly, I do want to mention our friends at Ford. And because they sponsor the podcast. Isn't that nice? And point you to their website, which is I'm going to say Sync My Ride, which is the website I use, but Ford.com/technology. So let me explain how my car could have a website. It does. Ford Sync puts your car online, basically. So they call it the Sync Traffic Directions and Information Systems account. STDAISA. No, it doesn't spell anything. But what it does is it lets you do things like from your computer send directions to your car. How about that? Or have your website, knowing where you're going to go, send traffic alerts to your phone. This is how Ford is really reinventing GPS. And I talk about Sync all the time, and I really want to underscore that the Ford Sync with My Ford Touch is not just a great way to control your car, to talk to your car, to get it to play songs and make phone calls. It's also, of course, it's the best GPS I've ever used. Fantastic. Gets you to where you're going. And it's just the best. If you want to learn more about it, of course, you can go to Ford.com/technology. That's a website where they talk about all the technologies that are in a Ford vehicle these days. If you want to take a look at Sync and how it works for you, go for a test drive in the 2012 Focus. And you're going to love this thing. It is just amazing. Literally the best GPS I've ever used in so many ways, big and small. They now have 40 million businesses, for instance. And every one of them includes a telephone number, business information, and directions, so you can press a button on the steering wheel. You never take your hands off the wheel. You keep looking ahead. Your eyes are on the road. And you can say, find this business, call it, give me directions, all of this stuff. And the fact that you can access it from MapQuest or Google Maps and send it to your phone, is that not awesome? Is that not amazing? My Ford Touch and Sync. They're on the screen there, for those of you watching video, that was the My Ford Touch screens. They're right behind the steering wheel. The whole point is safety. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, but you know where you're going. Big arrows behind the wheel to say left or right. all without having to purchase an aftermarket or integrated navigation system. It's just there. Give it a try. Go to your Ford dealer or Ford.com/technology today.
Code Monkey go to job. Code Monkey have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say Code Monkey very diligent, but his output stink.
I love it. The great Jonathan Colton, nerd, singer, songwriter. That is, if you ever get a, you could find it on YouTube or on his site, jonathancolton.com. If you ever get a chance to listen to the whole song, it's about a programmer, a code monkey. And it's the first song I think I've ever heard written from the point of view of the guy doing the coding. And I love it. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. We were talking about podcasting. And, oh, he's gone. Shoot. All right. Well, I will continue to answer. He's in our chat room, I know. Caller wanted to do two things at the same time. He wanted to do a podcast with a Skype call and stream audio so he could have a chat room. And if you think about it, all of a sudden you're hearing a lot of uses of bandwidth. Skype will really not like it if you don't give it enough bandwidth. You got to make sure there's enough there. So I would say, you know, for Skype, you want at a minimum of 640, 84K. Make it a megabit upstream. For the radio stream, you don't need as much. Probably, I mean, you're going to send it's going to be mono 64 kilobit. But you need to send it to a Shoutcast server. And there's lots of ways to do that. Shoutcast.com is a good start. There's Live 365. There are lots of ways to do that. I would look at Live 365. They have a little program you run on the computer that will send the audio to them. They host it. So you only have to send one stream. This is what I was going to get to. Is that you're given your limited bandwidth, you're not going to have 20 people listening to your internet connection. You only want to send out one copy, which then goes to a server and then is reflected. That's if you listen to our audio on any of the radio stations that would broadcast the show, or at TWiT.tv or TWiT.am. If you listen to the audio, you're hearing it not from me. I'm sending one copy of the audio out, but from a server that is designed to rebroadcast those audio streams to many people. And those servers usually have a gigabit upstream or more. That's right, 1 billion bits a second or more. So you can accommodate that. That's about 2,000 people. You need it. You need all of that bandwidth. I think Live 365 is a good place to get the bandwidth. Shoutcast is a good software to use. If you're on Windows, you might use Winamp with the Shoutcast plugin. Set that up. If you use Live 365, they have their own way of doing that. And then you tell your audience, hey, we're on Live 365. Go listen. And you won't kill your bandwidth. But you're going to need more than 128 kilobits up. You're going to need at least a megabit up, I think, to do that, to do all of that without killing your Skype call. And that's, of course, the most important part. Michael in San Marcos, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Leo. How are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I had two quick things I was hoping you could help me with. First one is technology upgrades in the classroom. I've got two daughters that are in elementary school, love the iPad, learning through technology, things like that. Unfortunately, our school was built in the mid-1990s and is not wired to take full advantage of the Internet and other network technologies.
Isn't that funny? Mid-1990s. Wow, is that an old building? How do you survive? It's brand new, and yet, of course, as Internet has exploded in the last 15 years, 1995 starts to look old-fashioned.
Absolutely, and so the problem is we can't qualify for funding to rewire the schools to take advantage of the Internet and the associated technologies. So we're looking at writing for grants and other things to get those up and running. But
you could always use how spread out is the school?
It's decently spread out.
I mean, most schools in this situation, even the school, you know, I'm on a board of trustees for my kids' high school, and that's a new building, was only 5 years old, but even that school doesn't use hardwire, they use Wi-Fi.
And that's exactly what I was calling about. What we were told is that it's not as simple to simply gather up wireless technologies and put them in place, that there's more infrastructure that goes into that. And,
well, that's true. I mean, and it can get very expensive. I bet you were told that by a company that specializes in wiring schools.
That and parents that are very knowledgeable when
techie.
it comes into.
You're hoping you have somebody like that, because there are companies that do this and they charge a lot of money. And they don't just charge a lot of money to do it, they charge you a yearly fee to maintain it. And it really adds up. There are reasons schools will use this, though. It's reliable. You don't have the expertise in-house. So what choice do you have? You're right. I mean, but they're right. I mean, it's more than just setting up a home network, isn't it? For instance, it's pretty easy to overwhelm a single Wi-Fi connection if you have... How many kids are in the school?
1,000.
Yeah, oh boy. Just think about it. What if 1,000 people came over and started using your Wi-Fi? You need a big, fat pipe. Do you have a lot of Internet access coming to the school?
We have the ability to do that. We just don't have it within the school.
Okay. So your issue is distributing it. I'm trying to remember what Sonoma Academy, the school that I'm on the board for, I'm trying to remember what... They have a fairly big pipe. I think it's 15 megabits. But they only have 250 kids. It's a small school. So you're going to need, do a little math based on how many kids think will be online at the same time and how much bandwidth they'll be using, and you'll see very quickly it gets to a big fat pipe. And then how are we going to distribute it? Generally, and the way we have it set up is you'll use something called VLANs or virtual LANs. So that you can take, I don't want to get too techie here, but you'll take each part of the school and have it be a separate segment on the network. That way you can control how much bandwidth is going to the theater department, how much bandwidth is going to administration, how much bandwidth is going to the English department. You probably also want to put some pretty good security software on there and content filtering software, because the school, is it a public school?
Yes, it is.
They probably have a great deal of requirements about how they have to protect kids. So you can see it is getting very complicated very rapidly.
It sure does. Yeah, and one of the things that we're also looking at, we're in competition for various grants and things like that. One of the things that we've done is entered the Power a Bright Future scholarship, grant. And what we're looking to do is get, just like American Idol, they try to get as most votes as possible.
Oh, go ahead. Give it out. That's what you're really called for. What's the website?
We need well, the easiest way to do it, to vote, is to send a text to 44144 with the message Clorox 3742.
Holy cow. Is Clorox the sponsor of this?
Yes, they are.
All right, let's get this again so I can put it in the chat room.
Sure. 44144.
44144. And I'll put this on the show notes as well. Go ahead. 44144. And you
and the
text...
message is Clorox 3742.
CLOROX 3742.
That's right. And another great way to get more information about it is going to YouTube. And if you put in the search terms Vote Tech, you'll see our videos that we've done there. At the school.
That's good.
Help get the word out.
Vote Tech. One word?
2 words.
What's the name of the school in San Marcos?
It's Discovery Elementary.
Good for you. I think it's a great thing to do. You're a little easier in an elementary school because you can put up effective filtering, and the kids won't be able to get around it. By the time you get to high school, forget about it. They get way too smart. On the other hand, by the time you get to high school, you usually can find a half dozen kids who are going to be on your tech team who help you keep it going. You probably do need a grant. As you can see, it's expensive. You need consultants. You need people who specialize not just in networking, but in school networking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. All the show notes are up on the chat, not the chat room, the web page, techguylabs.com. If you want to get a link or find out more, the website does link to the chat room, which is a great place to go if you want to kind of follow along, be those wiseacre kids in the back of the classroom. Just click that link that says chat. 828 people in there right now. Each one of them with a unique and valued opinion. 8888 Ask Leo. George is in Houston. Hey, George. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello. Several weeks ago, you were talking to a caller about backup hard drives and various sizes they come in, and you seemed to frown upon the idea of a 3-terabyte hard drive. You didn't recommend that for some reason. You specifically said that you didn't recommend that, and I'm just curious as to why.
Yeah, These hard drives are, I haven't seen a 3. There's a 3 terabyte. Wow. The biggest I've seen is 2. The way they get more data into that same package is by putting the bits closer and closer together, which means there are more errors. These drives are very good at correcting them. But, I think my trepidation comes from my friend Steve Gibson, who's a hard drive wizard. He wrote Spin Right. I mean, this is his thing, is hard drives. And he said, I don't know, we're getting such densities on here. I feel like it's getting less and less reliable. But really, my and I have no evidence for it not being reliable, but my recommendation is it's always better, instead of buying one ginormous hard drive, to split it in two big hard drives, maybe 2 1-terabyte hard drives if you need a lot of storage space. Not merely for reliability, although it certainly helps, but also because then you have some organizational benefits. Putting the operating system on one drive and the data on another is a nice thing to do. That way, if you need to reinstall the operating system, it doesn't go near your data. It's easy to back up the data, make an image of that drive, on and on and on. I just prefer that people get 2 smaller drives and 1 ginormous drive. And really, the best way to go, now this doesn't work internally as well, but if you're doing network-attached storage or backup, USB backup, is a RAID 5 array of 4 drives. That way, if any one drive fails, you never lose data. You just replace that drive and you continue on. So I just think it's better to, instead of saying let's put all our it's the let's not put all our eggs in one basket philosophy. That's what it is, George.
Okay. Have you ever seen, I think Google has spoken about this, but they won't release the information publicly, what drives is more reliable than others, which ones fail more than others?
Yeah, I don't blame Google, because for one, Google did release, and it was very valuable, a longitudinal study of its hard drives. You know, Google uses more hard drives probably than anybody in the world, except maybe Facebook. They use consumer-grade hard drives, so you can find it if you Google failure trends in large disk drives. At the Google Labs, they have a paper on that, and they'll tell you, but they won't tell you the brands. You're right, and the reason is it changes all the time. For a while, Western Digital had some real problems with their firmware, and we were not recommending Western Digital drives because they had a lot of big failure issues. They seem to have fixed that, and then the errors have moved on to others. The other problem is that there are only a handful now of drive manufacturers because they've all bought each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to make a recommendation today that'll be worth anything in a month. To be honest, I don't have so much trouble with any particular brand. We're buying Western Digital Caviar Greens for a long time for offline storage, and our IT guy Russell, who's brilliant, said, "I hate those. Get the blacks." So I guess I don't know. I don't really make recommendations. I haven't had a whole lot of problems. To be honest, you may be having a hard time finding hard drives these days. After the floods in Thailand, there's a real shortage going on.
Yeah, funny you mention. I saw that the other day when I was in the store.
Yeah.
They're limiting people to like 2 hard drives.
That's right.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you.
So I like the Western Digitals. I've been using Caviar Greens with. I haven't ever had any problems. But maybe you want the Caviar Blacks. Certainly for an internal drive, you want the higher speed Caviar Blacks. I think they make good drives. Hitachi bought IBM's drive business, and I think they make good drives. They're still. Does Seagate own? I don't. Is Seagate around? Are they owned by somebody? Did they buy somebody? I don't know what happened. Seagate's still around. Western Digital's still around. Samsung, and Hitachi. I think those are the big names, right? Now, somebody in the chat room, Russell said, I like LaCie. LaCie doesn't make drives. They make enclosures, and they buy other people's drives. So a lot of times when you buy an external drive, you don't even know what brand you're getting. I don't think it matters. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. Western Digital bought Hitachi. See, I can't keep track of it. I don't go by brand anymore. I consider them a commodity product, but I get very nervous buying a 3 terabyte drive. Because if you buy that, that's going to be your only drive, right? You're not going to buy 2 3 terabyte drives, or maybe you are. I'd much rather see you get 2 1.5 terabyte drives than 1 3 terabyte drive, just because it's more reliable. Ultimately. Faye in Laguna Beach, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Faye. Hello, Faye.
Hi.
I'm over here.
Hi, sorry.
No, that's all right. I know we keep you on hold for hours. I appreciate your patience,
my call,
of course.
Leo. I have a question. I have an 84-year-old mother who is visually impaired. She has macular degeneration in one eye, and she loves to read, so she can only really read the large print books.
Right.
And she also loves to play bridge. I was thinking about getting her a Kindle Fire. Would that be an appropriate choice for something for...
The most legible Kindle is just the e-ink screen, not the Fire. My mom, who's almost 80, she's 77, it doesn't have macular degeneration, but, you know, eyesight starts to get poor at that age. She had stopped reading. She couldn't read, and she loves her Kindle. She says, I can read again. You can make the type size pretty big, almost an inch tall characters, and that makes it very easy to read, even if you have very, very low vision. And I believe the e-ink is crisper. It doesn't flicker. It's just solid on the screen, so I believe it's easier. But she can't play bridge on it.
Okay.
So if bridge is really important, then you probably do want to get a Kindle Fire. The Fire will make the text big. It is very legible, and it's very affordable. Let me just check and see if there's a bridge program. That would be another question. I don't know if there is or not.
Right. I know there's bridge programs online you can subscribe to and pay $10 a month and just play bridge online.
Oh, that's fun, isn't it? Well, I would, before you bought the Fire, I would check to make sure that that website works fine on, it probably does. Fire browser is a pretty generic, you know, it's a good browser. Well, you could tell me the website. Maybe I can check for you. What's the website?
Honestly, I don't even know.
Okay.
I know my daughter plays it on the iPhone all the time.
Okay, if she plays on the iPhone, it'll work fine on the Fire.
Okay.
Yeah, because that means it's not flashy. It'll probably work fine on the Fire. Boy, that's an interesting question. It'd be, by the way, it'd be much better to play on the Fire than on the iPhone. But, you know, it'd be even better still on a larger screen like the iPad.
That was the other thing I was thinking about. But for reading, that would not be the best choice. Right?
No. In fact, what I would suggest is get her an iPad to play bridge and games and stuff like that, and get her the $70, it's not expensive, the $70 basic Kindle.
Okay.
Now, the only thing missing in that, and she might miss this, is the next Kindle up can read to her out loud. The $70 Kindle has no audio.
Oh, she hates books on tape.
Okay. Too bad, because that's a shame, because really that's the best solution. I mean, I love books on tape, but if she doesn't like them, well...
Too, but she wants to physically read it. She says the fun is actually flipping through the pages and reading it.
Yeah, well, maybe she won't like a Kindle either then.
I know. Yeah, that was the other debate. But, you know, she doesn't have a whole lot of choices with the large print.
Yeah, I know. And that's the nice thing about the Kindle. Any book you can buy on it, you can make giant print.
Okay, but you said Kindle ES is the best choice for the large print read.
Yeah, the basic Kindle or the, yes. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Or the DX, yeah, absolutely the DX. The DX, you'd be able to get a ginormous. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You can quote me. What did I do on Tuesday? I forgot about Black Friday and I bought a MacBook Air. And then, of course, Wednesday night, I went online, went to the Apple Store to check, get an update on the shipping date. And the Apple Store was down, and I thought, oh, no. This happens to me every time. I just bought a Mac. They're going to update them. They're going to revise them. I am an idiot. It was Black Friday. Of course, Apple does this every year on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, which, by the way, is not the biggest shopping day of the year, but we'll leave that aside. On Black Friday every year, they put discounts. I think there was a roughly 10% discount on the MacBook Airs, 100-some bucks, that I foolishly, you know, I tweeted this, and about 100 people said, what are you, nuts? Why are you buying anything 2 days before Black Friday? Well, the good thing about Apple is they have price protection, of course, no matter when I bought it. If, you know, within a couple of weeks, I think I get the money, you know, the difference in price. So I'm not too worried about that. But I should have probably thought about it, huh? Apple never gives huge discounts, but $120, something like that, that's worth waiting for, I would guess. I am in the habit of not thinking about Apple and their schedule because it's so inscrutable. But that's the one thing you know, Black Friday. Rubel in Pasadena, California. Hey, Rubel, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Thanks for taking my call, Leo. I love your show.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, I have a kind of a stupid question.
Good, because I'm an idiot, so it'll work great.
We both are. But, no, my question is, I have an idea for an app, but I'm afraid to go search and see if it already exists, because I think somebody that's smarter than me is going to find my search, and if he likes it, make it happen. You know what I mean?
How would he do that? You have somebody spying on you?
No, I don't know. I just know that when I wanted a website,
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That does happen. There are some very, in my opinion, unethical web domain name registration companies, some big ones, in fact, that I'm convinced, now they deny it, but I'm convinced monitor searches for domain names, and then when you search for it, magically, after, a minute or two later, somebody's got it.
No, I think that too. I know, call me a conspiracy theorist.
No, I think you're right. I've got plenty of evidence for it. They deny it.
So I think that if I search to see if an
You're right. If you search for a domain name.
No, for an application, and I think that.
No, Apple's not doing that. You could, and just don't use Apple. Use Google. In fact, the Google search is better than the Apple search. The iTunes search is terrible.
I just want to see if it exists, and I'm afraid that if it doesn't exist, that somebody's going to know that I searched for it.
No, you can now you can don't tell me on the air about the app, because that for sure then somebody will know about it. But when you search, you go to Google and do some searches, Google knows about it, but they're not leaking that out to individuals. And Google is not in the business of stealing people's apps. I think you're safe there.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck. No, I think that's safe. But I will agree with you 100%. If you've got a domain name you want, how can I say this? There are some very well-known domain name companies. I'm convinced, and they deny it. You can Google it, and you can see who I'm talking about. They deny it, but I am convinced that they monitor domain name searches. When somebody searches for a domain name, there's somebody who will then register it, because seconds later, it's registered. In other words, if you're going to search for a domain name, you better darn well buy it right then, because if you go back, it will be registered, and you'll have to get it from that person. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how they would do that, or why. I understand why they would do that. We have a sponsor on the web side, on the podcasts, called hover.com. I know they don't do it, and they're a good domain name registrar. So you can trust them. Who else is good that doesn't do that? I don't know. Because the two biggest ones that I know of, I think, do. They'll hold it. They say they hold it. Oh, we're just protecting you there. Yeah, we didn't want anybody to steal that from you. Hover.com. They don't do it. And maybe somebody's monitoring them. I don't know. Maybe they've got a leak. I don't know how or why that happens, but I've definitely seen that happen. Now we'll say hi to Missy in Los Angeles. Hi, Missy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi there.
Hello.
I did something. I read something in the LA Times that said that it's time to start opting out of cookies. So they gave a consumer opt-out website. I went in and I diligently opted out of a bunch of things. And not knowing what I was doing, I was just blindly following their instructions. I use Safari. I'm an Apple computer family. And now, as a result, our internet provider is AT&T, and I have AT&T Uverse.
Yeah.
And as a result, now when I'm on the internet, I go into pages, and it says, Safari can't find the server, can't open the page because it can't find, and then it'll say the name of the website. Or I'll have little boxes on my website that have a box within a box within a box and then a question mark. And I've contacted the AT&T, and they say it's my computer, and it has nothing to do with them. It's all my cookies. And so I've contacted this website, which is a NAI, Network Advertising Initiative, and they say that all I have to do is go into my third party, because I want to opt back in because I've messed up my computer now, right?
Right.
So
by the way, I'm not convinced that it's cookies that messed up your computer, but continue on.
Okay.
There's something else going on that's bad with your computer.
Good. Okay. So then they instructed me to go into my Safari privacy preferences and deselect third-party blocking, which I've done. And, well, it was already done, actually, because that's the way it was set up on my computer.
That's
initially.
the default, is to not block third-party cookies. That's right.
So now my children have blamed me. And
Mom, you broke the internet. Mom broke the internet. Oh, you're in trouble. Something else has gone. Something else has gone horribly wrong. And I'm not sure. Mom might have broken the internet if you got too aggressive in settings. Because you can be so aggressive. Did you put any security software on your computer?
No.
Look, I just opened my Safari, and I got that message. Safari can't find the server. I'll help you when we come back. I'm sorry to say we have to take a break for the news, but stay on the line, Missy. I shall help when we return. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, and home theater. At 8888 Ask Leo, we've been talking to Missy in Los Angeles, who's in trouble with her kids, because Missy read an article in the LA Times that said, change your security settings, delete your cookies, mess with your browser, and boy, did something happen. I've been trying to duplicate the problem, Missy, in Safari on my system, and I can't quite. But certainly there are some settings that you could change in your default preferences that might give you trouble. I wouldn't expect you to get I can't see the server. I've seen that before on Macintoshes. I think that's a different error that's going on there. And I can't remember exactly what caused that. The boxes within boxes is probably that you're disabling scripting or something like that. Did you change more than just that cookies setting?
No.
Just so you went in to the Safari settings and you where it says privacy?
No. I went onto their website.
You opted out from the opt-out? Oh, and you just checked the box there.
It says consumer opt-out, and I clicked on that red box where it says consumer opt-out.
Got it. That does not change your browser in any way. All that does is tell participating websites not to set cookies on your site. It doesn't affect you in any way.
Because so then when I click on that, it says, I click on that red box, and there's a ton of things here, and it shows me you have opted out of this network.
Right.
And a lot of them I have that white box with the blue box inside of it on those things. Those
are the pages that that would be the ad information that they're not serving. So you're getting those boxes.
Okay.
So I think that's okay, but I don't think that has anything to do with the I can't get to this server problem.
Okay.
In fact, you probably should blame your kids for that. One thing, okay, so there's a few things I would try. One thing is download Google's Chrome browser and just see if that works.
Yes, it does. One of my sons uses it.
So he says, Mom, I'm not having trouble with Chrome. It's just with Safari. That's interesting. All right, there is in Safari, if you open Safari and look under the Safari menu, there is a reset Safari and empty cache menu selections. I would do both of those.
Okay, so when I reset Safari, because I do empty cache on a daily basis, there's a bunch of boxes that are check marked.
Right.
Do I check all of those?
You might as well. I mean, what you're trying to do is delete all saved information.
Okay.
So it's like clearing the cache, only it's history as well, top sites. I mean, unless this is stuff you hate to lose, but I wouldn't worry about this. This basically says it's as if you were turning the computer on for the first time.
Okay, I just reset it.
If that doesn't fix things, then you have a larger issue that has nothing to do with opting out of cookies or how your browser's set. It sounds like, especially if Chrome continues to work, it sounds like something's wrong with Safari. Do you update your Apple regularly when updates are available?
Yes, we just updated to Lion also. My computer's out of warranty. Do you think that I should get one of those Make It Work guys for $85 an hour at Costco to come?
Yeah, the Geek Squad or Make It Work, or no, I wouldn't. I mean, if you can never solve this, then maybe. Probably they can't fix it. Probably what you'll want to do is start over with the computer. In other words, back up your data, format the drive, and install Lion. There's a technique to that that's kind of complicated because, let me look. Somebody's just given me a link to a forum post from Mac Rumors. Let me just see if this is germane. This does sound like a familiar Apple issue. It may be in the upgrade to Lion that something got screwed up. It's interesting that Chrome works fine. And by the way, they're saying this in the chat room, and I absolutely agree. Even if it's out of warranty, take it to Apple's store. That'd be the best place to go. They won't charge you more than the Geek Squad, and they know a whole lot more. And most of the time, they won't charge you at all.
Okay, because it's a desktop.
Yeah, it's a pain to schlep it. I understand, but they'll do the Apple Store is much more knowledgeable about Macs, and these guys are very, very good. I mean, one of the reasons you pay more for a Mac is for this very reason. They have very good support. You're paying for support. It's bundled in. So I'm not sure exactly what's wrong. Don't blame yourself. It had nothing to do with opting out of cookies. That's a safe thing to do, especially the way you did it. You didn't change your browser settings. You just told the companies that are setting cookies on your machine not to do it. Now, by the way, it's not, there was a whole furor over cookies. The Wall Street Journal started it. Oh, and by the way, the Wall Street Journal uses cookies more than almost any newspaper. In fact, you might ask the LA Times, do you use cookies? Because they do. Every site uses cookies. Scaring people about cookies, in my opinion, is sensationalism. It's not, there's nothing to be scared of. Cookies are a valuable part of the internet. There are some potential privacy leaks that can be caused by cookies. That's why Apple, by default, checks that box that says block third-party cookies. That's the only thing that I would worry about. Cookies are good. Cookies are why a site remembers your password when you come back to it. Cookies are why a site knows what your preferences are. These things are fine. I don't think there's any issue with cookies at all. And I think when media companies make a big deal about cookies, it's a sensationalism. So don't worry about it. Let me look at this. I'm looking at this forum post that is from the Apple support communities. It says Safari can't find server. If it is a known problem, the best thing to do is, I know it's a pain, is schlep it down to Apple. Yeah, a lot of the answers in this thread are not germane. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, but these are really extreme solutions to what is probably not that problem. They're talking about modifying host files, changing DNS. These are very geeky solutions. I'm not sure. It could just have been a bad Lion update. And if Chrome works, it's a Safari problem, and that also implies to me that it's something that went wrong with Safari, not with the computer in general. It's a pain. Computers are a pain. I wish they were easier to use. That's why, to be honest, a lot of times when callers call up and say, I want to get my first computer, I ask them, you're going to do what, email and surf? I say, get an iPad. You don't have to deal with all this stuff. It's much more straightforward. That's why they're selling in the millions. Pat in Lancaster, California, you're next. Listening to the great KFI. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Pat.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I'm looking at getting a new cell phone, and I know you've got the Galaxy S2. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's one of many, but yes, I like it a lot.
Well, listen, I went into there's a store that's selling them very cheap right now. So I went into the store that has my service and wanted to check the prices with them. The guy that's in there, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but the guy that's in there says, oh, don't buy the first version because AT&T is coming out with a new 4G network in February, and the first generation of that phone won't be able to access it.
That's right.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah, it does HSPA+, but it will not be able to do LTE. In fact, most of the phones, in fact, all of the phones AT&T sells today, I believe, will not be able to do LTE.
Really?
Did the guy say, "Oh, hey, get this phone"?
Yeah, he said I would advise not to buy that phone. I mean, is it that big of a deal?
No.
Oh, that's what
You know, it's always the case. Yes, you're right. That phone will be obsolete someday. Don't listen to him. He's got a point. Get the Galaxy S2. You'll love it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have you, you guys all know about Epson printers. I shouldn't have to tell you about how great Epson printers are. I am Epson exclusively. The first printer I bought for TWiT was an Epson Color Laser, which I loved, used for years. At home, I was using an Epson Artisan, which I love. And Epson called and said, "Have you tried the new Workforce Pro?" And I said, "No." So they sent one over. And I liked it so much, I bought one for my house. So why the Workforce Pro? First of all, it's an all-in-one. So scans, prints, color, fax. It's an inkjet. It does something great. And one of the reasons you want inkjet, it does double-sided printing. So you can print on both sides. Does it easily, automatically, and very, very quickly. And not only does that save paper, it just makes stuff look more professional when it's on both sides. Does great colors for business presentations, two-sided color, copying, of course, color copying, scanning, faxing. Now, the other thing I like, it has extra capacity in the printer for paper and for ink. So you don't change the ink. The cartridges are really big. It goes thousands of pages, and you can put almost a whole ream of paper in this thing. So you don't need, it's good for business in that regard. And they've really paid attention to the cost of consumables here. Not only you save money on paper by printing double-sided, but the ink is about 50% of the cost per page as a laser color printer. A lot less expensive than most inkjets. 580 sheet, that's more than a ream, isn't it? Paper capacity. I am a big fan. It's the built-to-perform Epson Workforce Pro. Epson Workforce Pro. It's fantastic. Check it out at Epson.com. In fact, I think it'd be a good holiday gift to yourself and your office. Kind of a, you know, you got to give a present to yourself. The Epson Workforce Pro. Epson.com. If you use...
Ready, Leo?
Yeah.
You're on.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. That's the number to call if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. By the way, we were trying to solve our caller's problem with this Safari server issue, and nobody could come up with a reasonable solution, even this Apple site. But we will put the Apple support page, it goes on and on with lots of different things to do, on our website, techguylabs.com. That's the place to go, techguylabs.com. Would I lie to you? All the show notes are there, thanks to James DeRufo, who's writing everything down as we talk. Roger in Pasadena, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
Great, Roger. How are you?
Good. Hey, I'm thinking about installing a new router.
Yeah.
And I work in a home office, very small, and I'm just wondering, it's a dual band router with supposedly extended range of the Wi-Fi. And
right.
I just wondered, how far away from my head should I put it?
That's an interesting question. I don't think you should worry too much about it. It's not next to your head, is it?
No, I mean, it would be like maybe 3 or 4 feet away.
Oh, you're fine. So understand that first of all, it's much lower power than a microwave oven. Admittedly, at microwave frequencies, it's 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which are microwave frequencies. But we're not, the microwave oven is thousands of watts. We're talking, I can't remember what it is, but it's like a few milliwatts. It's not a huge amount. And you probably know this, radio frequencies diminish by the inverse of the square of the distance, which, by the way, means that it drops off very, very, very rapidly as you get farther away. 3 feet, it's infinity. So 50 to 100 milliwatts. 50 to 1. So a microwave oven, 800 watts, 1,000 watts, 1,500 watts. Your Wi-Fi router, 50 to 100 thousandths of a watt, a tenth of a watt. So in other words, don't worry about it. It's not frying your brain. And at 3 feet away, it really isn't frying your brain.
Okay.
That's how they discovered microwaves, though. You know, microwaves are used on radar, and Navy guys in World War II noticed that if they wanted to heat their soup, all they had to do was put it in the way of the radar, and it would heat up. And I think that's why they call the original microwaves what? Radar ranges, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, don't worry, Roger. 3 feet's fine. I wouldn't put it on your ear, but I think you're all right.
Hey, thanks, Leo.
Anytime, Roger. Somebody's saying it was MIT. Truckee says it's MIT, not Navy guys. But I think it was. It's purely anecdotal. But I had heard that during World War II, it was not uncommon for sailors to use the radiation from the radar dome to heat things up. And I'm sure the MIT scientists figured out the details of it. Let's see. Kevin, 8888 asks Leo's the number. That's the number. Kevin called from Santa Monica. Hi, Kevin. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good. Hey, beautiful day in L.A. I bought a house with the TV kind of mounted on the wall, and so I don't know exactly how old the TV is. It doesn't have any HDMI cables, or any hookups, so that I'm assuming the TV is probably
pretty old. Yeah.
All right. The TV itself, it's into the stereo and it's into the cable box or the satellite dish box. When I turn on the TV, the bottom half of the screen is kind of vertical lines. The top is fairly clear, but like the bottom 50% has the vertical lines all the way across the bottom. And
is it a cathode ray tube TV or is it a flat screen?
It's a flat screen.
It is flat panel. Okay. It's LCD or plasma?
I don't know. It's Samsung. I don't.
It's probably LCD.
Necessarily how to tell, but
if it's so, are the lines perfectly horizontal?
Yeah, they're perfectly horizontal. There's a little bit of fuzz. Now, this is when only the TV's on and the power of the amp and the satellite dish box is off. Everything's disconnected from the TV except the power. I turn on and it's got that distortion. So I know it's not any connection outside of the TV. But there's a little bit of fuzz kind of in the top half of the panel.
Yeah, I've seen this before. The technical term for this is broken.
Okay. The value of the TV is a couple $100. I'm not sure it's worth spending.
You know what? It's less than a couple of $100 if you look at the Black Friday deals. How big is it?
It's a 50-inch.
50's pretty big.
No, but I mean to repair it, it's a couple $100.
Yeah, you don't want to repair it for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. The good news is HD TVs are hugely discounted right now because it has not been a good year with the bad economy and, frankly, saturation of the market. So you can get a 50-inch HD TV for $700, $600.
Okay. One other question is are people happy with the new iPhone S?
I am. I don't know what people are, but I am. Yeah, the reviews are good.
It seems about as the same speed as my 3G, as my 3S or the 3G.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so Apple's made a lot of hay touting the fact that it has dual-core processors, the fastest iPhone we've ever made, and of course, in synthetic tests, or maybe even not synthetic. A synthetic test is a benchmark that doesn't really test it in a real-world way. But even in tests that are semi-synthetic, a magazine writer saying, well, I launched the browser in the two different phones and it came up 3 seconds faster on the iPhone 4S than on the iPhone 4. Those are somewhat synthetic. You might notice a difference. The truth is, no, it feels about as fast because the truth is the iPhone 4 was plenty fast enough.
Yeah, well, this is my 3. seems about the same
Yeah.
speed.
Anyway,
all right.
Yeah, I don't notice it being massively faster. I think they've underclocked the processor at 800 megahertz, which is, it could go faster. It's about 50% underclocked. That gives you better battery life. The only reason to get the 4S at all is the better camera, and it is much better, and Siri, the fact that you can talk to it. If neither of those are compelling to you, Kevin, I'd stick with your old phone.
The Siri connectivity is kind of spotty from what I've noticed.
Yeah, it is. In fact, just this morning, Siri said, "I'm terribly, terribly sorry. I can't help you right now."
That's what I got several times. Okay.
That should get better. That's probably demand that Apple didn't account for. That's why Siri is, they say, still in beta. It's not a finished release. They still have network connectivity issues. I like the iPhone 4S. If you can wait, sounds like you can. There will most certainly be another iPhone, I think, in June. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I just think that that's likely. And that should be, if that's the iPhone we've heard many rumors about. Again, take rumors with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to Apple. But I do believe it is the case that it will be bigger screen and thinner. It'll be a new design. And that's kind of what Apple's been doing with the iPhone all along. They've been stagger stepping it. Every other year is a big jump. The original iPhone, then the 3G, then the 3GS, then the 4. 4 was a big jump. 4S immediate, not much of an incremental improvement. I want to talk about multiple processors in a second, though. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think Siri goes offline just because the network is down or busy. I get it more often with voice recognition, but I have to say sometimes it's me because I'm leaving from I'm changing networks or I'm driving around. Yes. Oh, I was talking about the Epson. Let me go back to talking the Epson. Yes, you can print. This is the best reason. Workforce Pro, go shop for it around. The prices are amazing. Oh, you can get it at Epson.com. But it supports iOS printing directly, native printing. I'm not sure if I'm on the right network, but let me show you. I mean, it's just built. It's built right in. So let's say I'm in Safari. I'm on a web page. Let's do it like this. So here I'm on the web page. This is the share thing. You just print. Let me see. I don't know if I'm on the same network, but you select the printer. Yeah, that's a different one. That's the HP that we're getting rid of. Lisa's got the Workforce Pro in her office. She's probably not on the same Wi-Fi network. She probably is on. I'm on the production network, but it'll show up very quickly, very easily, and you just print, and it's built in. No additional software needed. Really, really sweet. This is a great printer. Very, very fast. Very good color. Very affordable. They've really reduced the cost of the consumables. You want to see the printer? It's over in Lisa's office. I should show the printer, shouldn't I? It's not in my office. I didn't get it. Lisa got it. But I have mine at home. What else will it do? It scans remotely. Not on the iPhone, but to your computer. Very fast, really fast printing. To me, the double-sided printing is the killer. Epson.com or look online for the Epson Workforce Pro. I was a big laser fan, partly because of the cost of consumables, and I have to say this is better than a laser. It's a lot faster. Double-sided, which most lasers won't do. You don't believe it? Oh, man, I'm going to have to go get the printer? Oh, man. That's all wired in Lisa's desk. It's too heavy. Actually, that's a good recommendation for it. Who stole the printer? The boss. That's how good it is. She took it. But I'm an Epson fan. I have an Epson projector in our conference room. I have an Epson cinema projector at home. I have the photo printer. It's the best inkjet photo printers. This is what all the pros use, is Epson, these big wide carriage printers. Epson's Perfection scanner I had until I got the Artisan, and I didn't need it. Love it. Love it. You want a picture of it with my phone? Do I have time? Yeah. See, there it is. In Lisa's office. Can you see it? It's out of focus. The gadget guy, Dick DeBartolo, joins us in 15 minutes at 47 after the hour with a cool gadget, as always. I was going to talk about dual-core processors. Okay. So, all the new phones have dual-core processors, and they go, dual-core, twice as fast. No. You got to understand why we have dual-core processors in the first place. And for that, you need a little history. This is where I have an advantage. I'm a gray hair. I've been here for a while. I've watched this all happen. I remember 5 years ago. So processors, as you may know, from the time they started in the late 70s up to maybe 5 or 6 years ago, single processor, unless you had a super specialized server machine or workstation machine. They were single processors, one processor, and they just were getting faster and faster and faster. The first PC was 4.77 megahertz, 4.77 million cycles per second. The number of cycles per second in a processor is roughly equivalent to the amount of work it can do. Not exactly, but roughly equivalent to the amount of work it can do. 4.77 million cycles per second. I remember in 1991, the first Pentium came out. 90 megahertz. 90 million cycles per second. We were blown away. We thought, this is the fastest process. Oh, my goodness. I remember thinking, this is like, it feels slippery. It's so responsive. That was 90 megahertz. Well, we got to 1,000 megahertz or a gigahertz. We got to 1.5. We got to 2. We were headed towards 4 gigahertz, and then the wheels fell off. Intel and others, but primarily Intel, who really did plan a 4 megahertz chip, realized that there's a point beyond which, roughly 3.5 gigahertz, these things are too hot. They use too much power. They're no good. They made a chip called the Itanium that was a flop. And they had to rethink it. And it was really rethinking not engineering but marketing. We can't make the processors any faster. They found out we can't make the processors any faster. Well, why would people buy a new computer if the processors don't get faster? What are we going to do? That's what's been driving it all along. You have to get a new computer because it's twice as fast. So some bright guy said, well, what if we put 2 in? Oh, that's twice as fast, isn't it? Double the processors must be double the speed. Wrong. No, it isn't. It isn't. And that's the problem. And that's really why when you look at a phone with a dual-core processor, it might not feel much faster to you. You only gain some benefits with dual-core processors. You only gain a benefit with more than one processor in a machine if you're doing more than one thing at a time and the operating system and the software you're using can efficiently divide the job up among 2 processors. So a word processor is not going to get faster. It's already faster than you. It's already too fast. Games generally don't get faster because it's hard to divide tasks up in the game. What gets faster? Well, things like Photoshop, where you can say, okay, you do the odd number lines and I'll do the even number lines. Certainly you get faster if you're doing more than one thing at the same time. If you're browsing, printing, and doing a spreadsheet recalculation all at the same time, having multiple processors will certainly speed that up because each processor can do one of those things if your operating system can efficiently divide the tasks. So you understand that even though our processors are not getting faster in megahertz or gigahertz anymore, what they're doing is purely for marketing, I think, is they're putting multiple processors in there saying, look, it's twice as fast because it's got 2 or 3. I've got a machine at home that has 8. And you know what? For most of the stuff I do, it's not any faster. Because humans really only do one thing at a time. You're basically doing one thing at a time. So you might take a look at your iPhone and say, wow, it's twice as fast. That's what Apple would like you to think. It's twice as fast. But it isn't. It just has 2 cores. It's the same speed. It just has 2 of them. So it's better on multitasking. Really more important to modern computers than the number of processors, the speed of the hard drive. That's why we've loved these new solid-state drives. The amount of RAM memory. That's why we've got so much memory, although we've also reached the point of diminishing returns there. Once we get more than 4 gigabytes of memory in any machine, it doesn't matter in most cases. The faster video cards help with gaming and in some specialized calculations. If you're launching rocket ships, you might like the faster video cards. But really, the truth is, and it's not something the computer industry would not like you to know, but kind of reached a point where all the improvements from now on will be minor. There'll be small improvements. That's why, by the way, people are so, Microsoft particularly, so excited about 64-bit computing. Well, why? Because it's twice as good as 32, isn't it? I can do the math. 2 times 32, that's 64. That's twice as good. Not really. Not really. So that's really what's going on. And when you see this hype about, well, I got to have the dual-core phones or by the way, here come the quad-core phones and tablets. Already one has been announced, and there's going to be more. This is just all an effort to get you to buy. It's got to be twice as fast. It has 2. It's reasonable to be a little skeptical at this point. And if your senses say it's not any faster, it's not any faster. Because really all that matters is what you think, not what the synthetic benchmarks tell you. Howard in Laguna Niguel, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Howard.
Hey, Leo. I would like to buy a laptop to stream video and TV shows to my TV.
Ah.
I have 2 questions about that, but let me give you the big one in case we run out of time. Does an i3 versus an i5, in other words, hyper-threading versus quad-core, make any difference?
There you go. You just played right into my hands.
Exactly.
I like the i5. The i3 is actually, the i5 is the chip Intel, is kind of the mainstream chip. They made an i3 so they can make a low-cost computer. So they took some cash out. The truth is the biggest difference between the i3, 5, and 7 is not necessarily the core. Remember, we just had that conversation, number of cores, or the number of hyper-threads, which is a way of making a single core do twice as much. The real difference is in the L2 cache. That makes a bigger difference than any of the above. And so what they did is they increased the level 2 cache. That's the amount of memory built into the chip. And it turns out that most chips are doing the same thing over and over again. So if they can get that instruction from the chip memory, the L2 cache, instead of the RAM, it's orders of magnitude faster. That speeds up things more than anything else. So having more cache, and that's the biggest difference. I'd say the i5 is all you need. The i3, though, is probably capable, if all you're ever doing is playing back video, it's probably capable of doing that.
Well, the i3 I looked at had, I think it's an L3 cache. Is there such a thing?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, there's L2 and L3. It's the amount that matters. Okay. I believe, and I may be wrong, I believe there's 2, 3, and 4 megabytes of shared cache. I can't remember the details on it. I'll have to go to PC-Per and look up the stats. How much is the difference between the i3 and the i5?
$100 to $150.
I think that you're fine on the i3 for streaming. You're only going to stream one thing at a time, right?
Right, yeah.
So multi-core isn't going to make any difference to you.
Okay, so then I don't need the 5.
Yeah, I think the i3 is fine.
So the other question on that is the i3 that I looked at only had VGA out.
Well, that is true. That's the other issue on that, is the i5 has better video support. That's a killer. You need to have HDMI. Hold on, we'll talk more. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 88, Ask Leo. We were just talking with my good friend Dick DeBartolo, the Giz Wiz, about Dr. Donald T. Rose, who was the morning man in San Francisco for many years. I don't know how we even got on that subject. Let me finish up here with Howard in Laguna Niguel, and we'll talk to you, Dick, in just a second, our gadget guru. So, Howard, if it only has VGA out, that's no good for a home theater PC, unless you've got DLNA on your TV, and in which case you might be streaming wirelessly to the TV. Are you there? Oh, he hung up. He figured I wasn't going to talk to him. I would look for, if you're going to get a home theater box that you want to have on your TV set, look for HDMI. That's a must-have. And if it's an i5 that requires that, and it might be because the i5 does have better video support. All of this is artificial, by the way. Intel takes the same chips that come out of the factory and diddles around with its capabilities so that they can have cheap, middle-of-the-road, and high-priced. It's all artificial. It's all about marketing. Now, let's say hello to the least artificial guy, well, except for his mustache, the least artificial guy I know. Dick DeBartolo. He's dyed it green and wreathed it with holly berries for the holiday. Dick is Mad Magazine's maddest writer, and we call him the Giz Wiz because every week he brings us gorgeous gadgets. Hello, Dick.
Leo, how you doing?
I'm very well. What a great picture we have of you. That's for those of you listening at home.
That's right. If you are actually watching, I look horrible. But if you're just listening,
it's fantastic.
I look like a man of about 30-ish. It's flawless skin.
What is your gadget of the week, my friend?
Gadget of the day is something neat from Kingston. Right now, it's for Apple products. You know, you bought your iPod Touch or your iPhone, and you said, I wish I had gotten a little more memory.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is kind of an external way to get some memory. It's called the Kingston Y Drive. Now, it's just about the size of an iPhone. If you have them side by side, it would almost look like you were carrying two iPhones. So there's a 16 gigabyte, it's flash memory, 16 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes. And what you do, charge them up, plug it into your computer. It'll show up as another drive. Then just drag movies, whatever you want, onto the Kingston Y Drive.
The Y is like Wi-Fi, W-I.
Yeah, yes, W-I.
Do you have to have Wi-Fi to use it?
No. So then, after everything is on the Y Drive, you download the app to your Apple product. Then you open the icon and you look for the Y Drive. And then everything on the Y Drive is not only available to you, but if you have kids and 3 people, it can stream whatever you're streaming to 3 different devices.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Now,
so the idea is it has its own built-in wireless capability that you have to have this special app to see.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And you can take it on the road about 4 hours once you charge it up. And the thing is, it was so funny because
it looks like an iPhone 3GS, I have to say.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Without a screen. Yeah.
Yes, and next to my iPod Touch, it's a tiny bit bigger. The list price is let's see, 16 gigabytes is $80, and 32 gigabytes is $100. Woot on Monday had it for $70 with a $20 rebate.
Oh, I wish I'd seen that.
I know, but you know what? I would, between now and Christmas, my guess is it's going to be on sale again. And I think Kingston may start offering a rebate. So keep your eye open between now and the Christmas holiday for the Y Drive and decide whether you want 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes. And then jump on it.
Very good. The Y Drive, W-I-D-R-I-V-E from Kingston, a way to, you have to use a specialized app. By the way, I see they have an Android app now, too, which is very good.
You know what? They said it was coming. You saw
on the
website.
Must have just come out. It says beta on the website. It says beta. So that's really good news.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Well done. Thank you, Dick DeBartolo. Dick, of course, besides writing for Mad Magazine, has a great website for gadget hounds called The Giz Wiz at GIZWIZ.biz. You go there, you get notes on this and all of his other crazy gadgets that he talks about on my show and other shows. In fact, you've got the Y Drive right there on the front page. There's also, though, on the right, What the Heck Is It contest. It's a chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Oh, it's wonderful. This guy named Dick DiBartolo, he writes all over the magazine. That's the only negative. You can't sell it anymore. But no, it's autographed by Mad's maddest writer. Now, that's valuable. All you have to do is come up with an answer. There's a picture of something that really, I hate to say it, really looks like a Smurf toilet seat. And if you know what that is, you can get a Mad Magazine autograph.
How would you know what a Smurf
I wouldn't know.
toilet seat
I don't think
looks
Smurfs even use the bathroom. I don't think so. But here's the deal. If the best deal is to make up a crazy answer, because he's got 24 Mad Magazines for those of you who come up with crazy answers.
Yeah, we like the kooks.
Yes, we like the kooks. That's his motto. We like the kooks.
We like the kooks.
We like them. We love the kooks.
It's the Daily Gizwiz. Why? Because we like the kooks.
Our regular show is on right after this show. We do it on TWiT.tv called the Weekly Daily Gizwiz. Dick and I will come up with some wacky gadgets to show you. Dick, thank you. Hang on. We'll be back in a minute or two for the Weekly Daily Gizwiz.
I'll be here.
Let's see. Jim in Burbank, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jim.
Hi, how are you?
Very good.
I'm listening to you on my 756 Pro 2. How's that for an
Ha-ha! Wow.
I'm a ham.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're obviously a ham. Is that a high-frequency radio? What is that?
That's all HF, 1.8 megahertz to 30 megahertz.
And who makes that? Is that Kenwood?
That's
Yaesu?
Icon.
Icon. Oh, only Icon. I'm an Icon-only guy.
Cool.
Got to use Icon.
Well, listen, I got a quick question for you. I recently got an iPad a few months ago, and I use it mainly for surfing the web and email. I have my main machine at home is a Windows 7 64-bit machine I built myself. I'm running the Windows Live Mail application client on the machine. I have 3 separate email accounts. One of them is a Yahoo account. The other one is Live Mail account, and most recently added the iCloud email, which syncs perfectly between the iPad and the computer. It appears to be IMAP when I look at the properties of that.
Oh, that's good.
The other 2 are not IMAP, and I'm thinking maybe if there's a way to. Well, what I'm trying to do is when I look at an email on my main Windows 7 machine, and then if I don't delete it, it should still be there when I go to my iPad. But when I go to the iPad and launch the email, it's not there.
That means that's what IMAP does, by the way. The IMAP, when you delete it, you're deleting it from the server.
Well, I'd like for them to be in sync with each other. So, like I said, the iCloud account works great. The Yahoo doesn't, and the Windows Live account doesn't. So, is there a way, or do they even offer that property?
Well, Yahoo, if you pay for your Yahoo account, offers pop mail. Hotmail, I don't know, because it's a proprietary format. I'm not sure if you can pop it. But if you could, then Gmail would be the solution. What you do is use Gmail to gather all of your different accounts into a single inbox. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.